Welcome back to the channel. This is Trendy Storm and you are watching third part of What If Naruto was experimented by Orochimaru. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now wasting no time, let's start the story.
Naruto woke up the next morning after a good night's sleep. Naruto yawned and said, "Man, I haven't slept that well in a long time." At the same time, he tried to move his arms but saw that they were stuck. His eyes caught sight of arms around him as he looked down. He turned around and saw Hinata standing behind him. This shocked him. "I think I fell asleep in her arms because she stayed with me." Naruto looked at the girl and smiled. He turned around in her arms, which made her make a noise. He stopped so as not to wake her up and then went on his way again. He soon turned to face her. He smiled when he saw that she was smiling happily in her sleep. I was able to free one of his arms from her grip when he turned around. He raised his paw and touched the side of her face. But before he did, he frowned and clenched his paw into a fist. "I kid you not, Yuro, she would never like someone like me. If Oba-chan hadn't told her to be here, she wouldn't have stayed." Naruto had a sad thought to himself. In her sleep, she let out a happy sigh. "I need to leave this place." Naruto believed. He was able to get out of bed without waking her up by pulling the girl's arms away from him. He then went to use the bathroom. When he walked in, he looked in the mirror and was shocked to see that the fox ears were gone. Naruto was glad they were gone and said, "Well, one less thing to worry about now." He got dressed, went outside, and sat on the porch for a long time. He wasn't sure what he should do. Since the event with the fox ears the night before, the images in his nightmare made him fear that the problems were just getting started. He stroked his hair with his paw. The man said, "I need to go for a walk." Then he got up and went into the woods. After a few minutes, Hinata began to wake up. She looked around and saw that she was still in Naruto's room, but he wasn't there. She got up and looked all over the house, but he wasn't there anymore. He could have gone anywhere, she thought. "Naruto-kun?" she asked. A blonde boy wasn't there when she went outside after seeing the front door open. "Naruto, where are you now?" In worry, Hinata thought. She quickly got dressed and ran to the Hokage tower to tell her that Naruto had gone missing again. Naruto sighed as he sat on top of the Yondaime head and watched the sun rise over Konoha. He watched, happy for the peace that was there for a moment, but the sound of footsteps broke the silence. When Naruto heard this, he put on his mask and raised his hood. Someone was mad and said, "Dope, take that off." When Naruto turned around, he saw Sasuke standing there with a grumpy face. He smiled at him as he took off his hood and mask. Naruto said, "Hi Sasuke. What are you doing up here?" Sasuke said, "Looking for you." "Me?" Naruto asked in surprise. "Yeah, Tsunade. Sama has all of us out looking for you. Sasuke told us." Naruto smiled and went back to watch the sunrise over Konoha. "Well, she can wait a little longer then." "Why are you up here in the first place?" Sasuke asked as he sat down next to the boy. "Thinking." Naruto replied, letting out a sigh. "Is it hurt?" Sasuke said with a grin. Naruto gave him a mean look, frowned, and then turned back to look out the window. "What's wrong, Otouto?" Sasuke asked, worried that his little brother didn't want to fight with them. Not feeling anything, Naruto said, "Nothing." "You lie a lot, but you know it." "Even more so if it's someone I've known for a long time," Sasuke said with a frown. Naruto hung his head and sighed again. "Eniki-I," he said. But Naruto stopped. Sasuke moved in front of Naruto and looked at him. Naruto looked up at him, and the Uchiha could see that he was tired and worried. This made the boy frown because he knew what his little brother was going through. "Otouto, why don't you tell me how you feel?" he was asked by Sasuke. Naruto smiled and shook his head, "It's nothing." His brother Arrival's eyes got really big when he looked up at Sasuke. He rubbed his eyes to make sure he wasn't seeing things and even used his Sharingan to be sure. Naruto didn't understand why Sasuke was wearing his shirt, "Aniki?" "Naruto, give me your ears," Sasuke said, still shocked by what he had seen. "Let me guess they turned into kitsune ears," Naruto sighed as he thought about what had happened. "How did you?" Sasuke asked. Naruto was mad that they had come back and said, "It happened last night." Sasuke told him, "You need to tell Hokage Sama." He shrugged and said, "I'll be fine." "Oh, no. Everyone here wants to help you, but we can't if you keep things from them. We're finally leaving to see her because we've been here for too long," Sasuke said as he grabbed the boy's wrist and blurred into thin air. In an instant, they were in the Hokage's office, where Hinata was also upset. Jiraiya was mad and said, "Gaki, there you are. Naruto, do you know how worried we were about you?" Had Hinata been scared? What did Tsunade ask? He hung his head when he saw the girl about to cry. With his arms crossed over his chest, Sasuke told Naruto, "Hokage Sama, he hasn't been telling us everything." He was angry about what Naruto had said. The group was shocked. "Gaki." Jiraiya spoke up. The adults saw the fox ears when they were further down on Naruto's head. "Ears of a kitten?" Jiraiya asked, shocked by the change. Hinata walked up to Naruto and said, "Gomen Hinata Chan, I'm sorry I scared you." Naruto nodded and looked up at her. "Thought I had some time to myself, they came back, and I." When Hinata hugged Naruto, he stopped. The boy sighed and relaxed in her arms, and his ears went back to being straight. Sasuke and the other two Sannin smiled at the scene. He smiled down at Hinata Chan and said, "I don't think they'll leave this time." She took a step back and saw that the fox ears were still there. "How can you be so mean, Otouto?" "What did Tsunade ask?" Hinata calmed down and said, "This happened last night, Tsunade Sama." "Yeah, but when I woke up this morning they were gone. Naruto told me. They changed back right before you drifted off to sleep last night, Naruto Kun," Hinata said to him. When Tsunade heard this, he sighed and said, "Hinata, take the baka home and stay with him. Tell the other people that Naruto is back home with Hinata, Sasuke." The two agreed, and the three of them left the office. As they left, Sasuke went out the front door, but Hinata and Naruto went through a nearby window to sneak across the roofs. When they got back to Naruto's house, she noticed that he was still quiet. "Naruto Kun, why won't you tell us what's really going on? You're hiding something else from us, and we hope you'll tell us soon." Hinata thought this as she looked up at the boy jumping on the tree branches in front of her. When they finally got to the house, they went inside. They didn't say a word as they went to their rooms to get ready for breakfast. Hinata was the first to finish getting ready and went downstairs to start making breakfast, while Naruto was. "What am I going to do, Kyunubi? Are you okay?" Naruto asked him. As if the answer were clear, Kyuubi said, "Tell them about it." "What can I say to them if I dreamed that I saw something destroy Konoha?" "What?" Naruto asked. Kyuubi said, "It's not that hard." Naruto started to say, "For you it's not for me." But then he stopped. "Kit, I know you hold a lot inside, but the way you are now, this isn't helping and seems to be making the change happen faster. If you keep how you feel to yourself, the darkness will only get bigger and stronger. Their help can come from if you talk to them and don't try to hide how you feel," Kyuubi said. Naruto let out a sigh and sank into the water to think about what Kyuubi had said. That was his first thought, but something else took its place. What if he's wrong? "They'll help me." As soon as he was done, he bathed and went downstairs, where he could already smell the food Hinata had made. When he walked into the kitchen, Hinata had her back to him and was singing while watching the eggs cook. He looked over at the table and saw that she had also made bacon and pancakes. "Hinata Chan, you didn't have to do all of this. All you had to do was take care of me." Naruto was mad at how much she was doing for him. He sat down in one of the chairs and waited for Hinata to finish making the eggs. When Hinata turned around to look at the plate on the table, she was startled to see Naruto there. She let out a shocked scream, which made her drop the pan she was holding. Suddenly, Naruto was in front of her, holding the pan on his paw and smiling. "Gomen, I think I might be too quiet for you, Hinata Chan," Naruto stated. Hinata laughed and said, "Hey, you're usually the one who makes the most noise." Then it was seen that the pan was still giving off steam. "Hello, Naruto." She was shocked, then picked up the pan handle and put it back on the now cold stove. Naruto didn't understand what she was doing as she grabbed the wrist of the paw that had caught the pan and pulled him over to the sink to run cold water on it. Why are you doing that, Hinata? Chan? Do you want to? She turned to him and said, run cold water over your hand. Naruto. Kun, that pan was very hot, and your paw could have been hurt. He pulled his paw back and said, nah. See, it's okay, he told her as he held it up. How? Why wasn't the fur on his paw burned or gone from the heat of the pan? Hinata asked, shocked. It was hot, so I can touch it and I'll be alright. Naruto said that. She began, but I don't. Naruto smiled and went back to his seat. It's just one of those things, Hinata. Chan. She knew it was because of the jutsu, so she stopped asking and sat down in the empty seat. Naruto smiled and looked up at her. Thank you, Hinata. Chan, for making breakfast. Naruto said. What did Hinata say? You welcome Naruto. Kun. Naruto could finally see everything the girl had made while he was upstairs. He had already seen and smelled the pancakes and bacon when he came in, but now he could see that she had made toast for each of them. Naruto was sitting with a small bowl of miso ramen, and she had orange juice in front of her seat and milk where he was. He smiled again at how thoughtful the girl was. Hinata. Chan, this is great, but how am I going to eat it all? What? Naruto asked. She was confused when she looked up at him and he raised his arms. That's when she understood what he was saying. Naruto. Kun, use the silverware, Hinata told him. Huh? Naruto asked, but he looked down. Instead of hashi, there were spoons, forks, and knives in front of him and Hinata. He picked up one and found it easy to use. See. Hinata smiled and said, I thought you could use these better. Seeing this made Naruto smile and say, arigato. Naruto found it easy to eat with the silverware and even used it to help him with the miso ramen. When they were done, Naruto saw that he had slightly bent the handles of the silverware to make them easier for him to hold. Naruto rubbed the back of his neck and said, Hinata. Chan Gomen. I kind of bent the silverware. Hinata smiled and looked down at them, but he could tell she was upset about the news. The look quickly went away, and she looked up at him. Naruto, it's alright. She said, I thought you could use them, so they would help, and they did. She walked over and reached for his plate and silverware to wash them in the sink, but he grabbed her wrist with his paw. He looked at her and smiled. What is wrong, Hinata? Chan? Naruto asked, worried about what he had seen in her eyes before. She shook her head and said, nothing, Naruto. Kun. Looking at her, Naruto said, now you're lying to me, Hinata. Chan. She sighed and told Naruto, those weren't your silverware. They were what I brought to help you. He wouldn't let her go until she told him what was wrong. He then let go of her, and she walked over to the sink. And that's what that look meant. Naruto thought, but then he understood what she really meant. They weren't mine, they were hers, and I messed them up. This made Naruto mad, and he sighed and looked at them with a sad face. He frowned as he looked at his paw and the damage he had done to the silverware Hinata had brought to help him. While she washed the dishes, Hinata watched the whole thing through the reflection in the window. He smiled again in an instant, and Hinata looked at her reflection with a sad face. She asked Naruto. Kun, why won't you tell us? Naruto said, you know what? I'm going for a walk. Took a break from washing the dishes and said, He looked at her in shock and asked, what do you mean no? You're not going for a walk. The last time you said that you disappeared and I had to come looking for you. Hinata made clear. He was shocked when she walked up to him and pulled him out of his seat. He also had the same strange feeling in his chest that he had the night before. She led them to the door and said, this time I'm coming with you. Before leaving, Hinata grabbed her cream and black hoodie and Naruto's cloak and mask from the hanger by the front door. As they stood on the porch, Hinata gave Naruto his stuff and put on hers. Naruto put the mask on his side because he thought they wouldn't be going very far, and they were off. Where would you like to go, Naruto? Kun? She asked Hinata. Euro out back. I want to see what's out there. Naruto stated. But I thought you were already out back? What did Hinata ask? I could only see what was in the backyard through the house's windows. Besides that, Naruto said, I've spent most of my time searching all the rooms in the house for all the hiding places a Tucson set up. They went around the back of the house and saw that there wasn't much there. The land was flat and had 2 brown spots on it. He said, "Seems like a training field." "Most likely," Naruto said, but something caught his attention. A group of people with yellow ties were standing by a group of trees. He then saw what looked like a sign and went to read it. Naruto read out loud, "Be careful in the trap training area." Hinata was shocked to hear this, so there are different ways to train back here. Naruto was angry and said, "Wouldn't do me any good." Naruto let out a small amount of chakra, and the chakra shield formed right away. Hinata looked at him blankly. "It's always with me now." Naku said, "Like Gaara with his Suna Tate, I can even make it stick out and grab things." As he spoke, the chakra rose from his shoulder, shaped itself into a paw, and reached up to pluck a flower in the tree. It then moved down and stopped in front of Hinata. Naruto smiled and said, "Here." I smiled back at Hinata and took the flower. His chakra in the extra paw then vanished. Kyuubi watched the whole thing from inside. Kid is right. With the chakra Tate helping him, it's hard for him to get hit and get stronger. Kyuubi thought to himself, "I'll have to see what I can do about this." Outside, Hinata and Naruto kept walking around the grounds. They didn't go anywhere that day and instead fixed things around the house and cleaned it up. Now that a few weeks had passed, they got used to being around each other. Right now, they were finishing up breakfast. Naruto told Hinata many times that he was sorry for breaking the silverware, but she said it was okay because she had brought it for him to use. He could keep them. In the end, Naruto asked, "So what now?" "Well, if you don't mind €1, what Hinata said." "Nani?" What did Naruto ask? "Okay, I need to get more things from home. Several things were the only ones I brought with me. Since I'll be staying longer, I need to get more from home." What Hinata said. "Oh." He was shocked and said, Sure, I'll just stay here in." Naruto. "Kun, I meant for you to come with me." Hinata told him to stop. "Hinata. Chan," Naruto said as he looked at her. "Right now, I don't think that's the best thing for me to do." "Why?" "Oh, I see. You can use the cloak and mask like you normally would." Hinata replied. After she said, "Nani, you're a Tucson nose." Naruto was shocked. He looked shocked, and Hinata said, "And he let you come?" Hinata smiled and tugged on his wrist again. "Come on, I'm sure he'd love to finally meet the person who changed Neji and me." In that moment, Hinata led him through the forest until he was able to move on his own and put on his mask. "You don't need that, Naruto." "Kun." What Hinata said. "For now I'm going to use it," he said. Naruto. Hinata gave him a sad look and nodded because she didn't want to make him feel any worse. He kept going after her until she reached the high Ga gates, which were wide open and had people coming and going. Neji and Tenten were standing by the gates when Hinata saw them. "Neji. Ni. San." Hinata waved as she walked over to them. He heard his name and turned around to see Hinata walking up behind her. Naruto was not far behind her in his cloak and mask. "Hinata. Sama, why are you here?" He was shocked when his cousin came back to the compound. "I needed to pick up some more things and though a Tucson might want to talk to Naruto." "Kun." What Hinata said. Neji nodded because he knew Hiyashi thought highly of Naruto. He then turned to look at the boy. "Naruto, how are you doing today?" Nazi asked the person in the mask. "I'm just fine," Naruto said with a happy smile behind his mask. After hearing this, Hinata looked at him with worry on her face, and Neji saw it. He didn't do anything about what he saw. "You'll have to forgive us, Hinata. Sama, but Tenten and I have to meet with Guy Sensei and Lee for training," Neji said with a bow as he walked away, Tenten following behind him. As soon as they were far away from the two, Tenten asked Neji, "What are you talking about?" "We were going to train at the Hyuga dojo. He's hiding it from us." What Neji said. "Who? What are they hiding?" he asked Tenten. "Naruto, how he's truly feeling." I told Neji. "Then why a euro?" It was Tenten. "It's his decision to tell us or not and I'm not going to force him after what happened." What Neji said. Tenten agreed with the boy's reasoning and asked, "So where to now?" "Our old place to train. That'll work just fine as a Hyuga house," I told Neji. After that, the two of them walked to the training field. When they got back to the Hyuga gates, Hinata and Naruto went inside into the main house. As they went through the house, no one met them until they got to Hinata's door. What Naruto thought was a small Hinata was coming out of a door next to them. "Hinata, do you know you have a chibi bunshin walking around here?" Naruto said in a jokey way. His words made Hinata smile as she asked, "Is Hanabi going to train with Konohamaru and his friends again?" Hanabi gave her a mean look while she blushed and didn't say anything. Hinata shook her head at what her little sister did. She then said, "Naruto in the Anbu uniform behind her. Who is that? You need an Anbu to walk you around because you're too weak? Does that sound like the mission a Tucson asked you about? Who is that person in the cloak behind Hinata?" Hanabi asked. "Hey, Hanabi, that Naruto. Kun. Dear Naruto, this is my Imoto Hanabi." What Hinata said. Naruto smiled at the girl, but behind the mask, he was mad at how she was acting around her sister. Naruto. Kun? Hanabi was shocked to hear this. As in Konohamaru's knee. San? The boy replied, "That's why he thinks so highly of you. I had no idea you were Anbu. The guard they have on you isn't in danger of being killed though." Hanabi then left and went down the hall. "She's friendly," Naruto said in a sarcastic tone. She laughed and said, "Ha ha, she has her own way about things, just like everyone else does." A gasp could be heard coming down the hall as they were about to go into her room. "Irashi?" someone asked. When they turned around, Hiyashi was standing there, speechless. He was shocked when he saw that the man had seen them. "Oh no, here we go again. I'm definitely going to get kicked out," he believed. A Tucson. Hinata was shocked and happy. "Naruto. Kun." She turned away from the door and said to the man, "This is a Tucson." Hiyashi was speechless. He finally paid attention to what Hinata said and turned to look at the boy. He still wore his mask, but the hood was taken off so that you could see his hair. Hinata. "Chan, maybe I should a euro." Naruto began to feel like he had to leave as he looked back at where they had come from. "Nonsense," Hiyashi stated. "You just surprised me there for a second, Naruto. Though you're a Tucson was back from the dead." Again, Naruto was speechless at what he said, and he smiled at the boy's change in body language. "You don't have to wear that in here," it said Hiyashi. "I'd rather it stay on," Naruto said with joy. Hearing the pause in his voice, Hiyashi nodded and said, "Let's go into Hinata's room." After that, the three of them went into the open room. Hashi closed the door as soon as they got inside, and Hinata went to the windows to block the bright sun that was coming in. Hiyashi smiled at them as he turned around. "Now then, Naruto. San, will you take off that mask now?" I asked Hiyashi. "I'd rather not, Hiyashi," he said. Naruto. "Oh, and why not?" Hiyashi asked. While they talked, Hinata went to her room to get what she needed. As she listened to them talk, she looked at them. "I just think I'd be best if I kept it on," Naruto said with a happy tone. Hiyashi sighed. "Naruto. San, if you think I'll throw you out because of what Orochimaru did to you, you are mistake." Naruto let out a gasp because he had forgotten what Hinata had said. The man turned to look at Hinata. She gave him a smile. "Naruto. Kun knows, I told you. I told him when we got back." What Hinata said. "Hi, my Masumi is right. After she told me what happened on the mission, I went to Hokage Sama to see what I could do," Naruto said. Hiyashi looked at him to make sure he was telling the truth. She then asked Hinata to stay with you until things get fixed. "I wasn't against this and still am not, but Hinata made the choice in the end," it said Hiyashi. Naruto now has Hinata next to him. She stood in front of him and touched his mask. He looked at her with wide eyes and put his paw over her hand. He closed his eyes and took off his paw when she smiled at him. So she could pack her things again, she took off the mask and put it on the bed. Naruto closed his eyes because he didn't want to see Hiyashi's anger. He saw the boy and felt bad about what the former Konoha Nin had done to him. "Well, I didn't expect the kitsune ears," Hiyashi said, hoping to make things better. Naruto was shocked when he opened his eyes and saw Hiyashi still standing there. He smiled and said, "It happened not long ago." Naruto said he heard himself revealing how he really felt. "Oh? Then why is that?" Hayashi asked when she saw Naruto's fox ears lever on his head. Hinata cast a glance at the two of them. "We're still not sure why," Naruto said with a shrug. "I think I need to talk to the elders about something family related. If you need anything else, Hinata, just ask Neji to bring it to you." Naruto-san, it's nice to see you. Please come back soon," Hiyashi said, and then he left the room. Naruto was shocked by what had went on. When Hinata was done packing the last of her things, Naruto grabbed the bag and they left the Hyuga compound. A few villagers saw them on their way back and thought it was strange that there was an Ambukitsune walking around when there hadn't been one in years. Most of them didn't think much of it, but a few did. Some people had even seen some of the younger ninjas going into Konoha Forest. The three men looked at each other. Someone asked, "Do you think it's him?" "Who else could it be? I mean the Kitsune mask, and he hasn't been seen in town since we trashed his place." Someone else said. "But he has the Hyuga heir with him, we can't do anything with her with him." That last one said. "We can deal with him after we get her away from the Bakemono. He should have been there when we messed up his place." The first man said it again. "You're crazy. You should have seen what he did to Hyuga Neji on the Chunin test when he was a genin. Just think about how strong he is now. He learned from Sannin Jiraiya, and I've heard he gets along well with the Hokage as well." The last man spoke. "He's probably making them do what he wants with his Kitsune magic, and the Hyuga heir is the same way. So we need to follow them and get her away from him so we can finally kill him." The second man spoke. After that, all three of them looked at each other and agreed. When they got back to Naruto's house, he yawned and said, "Hinata-chan, I'm going to skip breakfast and take a nap." "Alright, Naruto-kun, I have to meet with my team, so I might be gone when you wake up." What Hinata told him. Naruto nodded and went upstairs to his room. Hinata, on the other hand, went to the kitchen to make a quick snack. Naruto fell asleep as soon as he got to his room and laid down on his bed. "I really didn't think he'd fall asleep again. I need to wait for the girl to leave before I can move in." He told himself this in the room he was in. After a few more minutes, he heard the front door close, which meant Hinata had already left. "Finally I can come out," he said. Kyuubi. The golden Kyuubi was right where Naruto used to be in an instant. It stood up and stretched its legs to ease the pain it was feeling. He swished his tails with joy as he thought about how the Hokage would react to hearing that the jutsu would be released. He turned around and said, "Well, if I'm going to be seen in public, I shouldn't cause a fuss." Kyuubi's tails began to blend together until there was only one big fluffy tail behind him. "This way I won't be attacked, I hope." Kyuubi said this as he walked to Naruto's room's open window. Kyuubi didn't know that Hinata hadn't really left on her own. People from the village who thought the so-called demon would hurt her came in to take her to where they were meeting to keep her safe until they could deal with Naruto. When they got to the hut they used to meet, they let go of Hinata. Hinata asked, "What are you doing?" Because she was afraid they were going to try to hurt her. "Of course we're saving you," one man said with a smile as he thought about what they had done. Hinata was now confused and asked, "Saving me? From what?" Another person in the village said, "From that Bakemono that is making you do what he says." Hinata began to say, "Demo, Naruto-kun," but the last villager stopped her. There is no use in talking to her. The Bakemono had brainwashed her. "We need to wait until he leaves the house and attack him and finish him off finally," the man stated. Hinata yelled, "Demo, you can't do that." The three of them looked at her sad and thought she was crazy. Someone in the village came up to her. The man told her, "I'm sorry I have to do this, but it's for your own safety." He then put tape on her mouth to stop her from shouting. Someone who didn't like having to tie and tape the girl's mouth asked, "Do we really have to do that?" The man told the other, "If we don't, he'll hear her and come before we're ready." The person who asked the question nodded and looked at Hinata, who looked sad that they had to do all of this to the Hyuga heir. "I finally gave up after walking for a while because it was taking so long and said, 'Oh, forget this.'" Right then, flames appeared under him and quickly consumed him, making him disappear. Tsunade and Jiraiya were looking through all the old scrolls they could find in the Hokage's office to figure out how to change Naruto back to normal. Jiraiya jumped back quickly as fire shot up from the ground as he walked out of the Hokage's scroll rooms. The two Sannin got ready to attack, but Kyuubi smirked at them as he sat there. "I love how people react to my jutsu," Kyuubi said with a smile. Tsunade asked Kyuubi, "What are you doing here?" As Jiraiya walked over and shut the door so no one could see the fox. Kyuubi said, "Oh, I thought I'd check in and see how things are going with ending the jutsu on the kit." He walked over to the stack of scrolls and jumped on a chair. He turned his head and looked at each scroll. They still didn't know what to do to undo the jutsu, he saw. It was Jiraiya who told the interested fox, "We're looking, but so far you found nothing." "As you wouldn't with what you're researching." "These things are too new to hold the answers," Kyuubi said, annoyed by what they were looking into. "Too new? I told you those scrolls are as old as Konoha," Tsunade said in response. "So they're too new," Kyuubi said with a smirk. "You know something, don't you?" Tsunade asked him with a look. "To mess with the Sannin's minds," Kyuubi said, "maybe." "Oh, I love getting into trouble with people. It's way too easy." The Kyuubi thought. Tsunade asked Kitsune, "What do you know?" "Even if you're the Hokage and the kit thinks of you as a nice person, I'm still an Oni that should be feared, so don't call me Kitsune." "Only Kit can call me that," Kyuubi said, getting angry and letting out some of his killing intent so that only the two of them could feel it. Tsunade took a deep breath and said, "Kyuubi, I'm only worried about Otouto. I don't want you to hide things from us if you know something." Kyuubi smiled, "Well, you know about what happened a few weeks ago with the kit." "You mean with the kite ears?" Tsunade asked. "Well, when that happened I was able to feel the kit's emotions and that's when I figured out what suppressed the jutsu." "At least that's what it did then," Kyuubi stated. "So what is it?" Jiraiya asked, hoping it was something simple they could fix. "Okay, so let me ask you this. What are the turns for the two Orochimaru jutsu that got mixed up?" Kyuubi asked, still messing with the two. Jiraiya told Kyuubi, "This is not the time for games." Kyuubi said with a smile, "Humor me." Tsunade wrote, "Both can only be removed by the person who applied the jutsu." Wrong. And here I thought you two were smart. It's correct that the two jutsu can be removed by the person that applied them, but there is always another way to remove them. Kyuubi said to the two. She said, "But that's all our scrolls have in them." Tsunade was shocked that there was another way to get rid of the jutsu. "The reason I told you that was because your scrolls are too new. They don't have the memories of an Oni that is 10,000 years old." Kyuubi said this with a smirk. Jiraiya asked, "Then what are the other releases?" He told them, "For the Zinrui no Kisu, it's the love of their soulmate." Tsunade asked, "And for the Seishin no Ziko o Bakuru?" "It's the recognition that what they see on the outside is their true self." Kyuubi made clear. Jiraiya asked, "Then how will that help us break this jutsu?" "To begin with, we will never be able to undo the jutsu," Kyuubi said with a smirk while putting his hands over his ears. The two girls yelled, "Nani?" And it echoed out the window. "What do you mean we can't get rid of it? You said there was a way." Tsunade yelled. Kyuubi told them, "Oh, there's a way, but only the kit can take it off." "If that's true, he'll always be that way," Jiraiya told him, making him smack his forehead. Tsunade told him, "Baka is going to be the next Hokage. He'll figure it out." "Indeed he will figure it out, but how long it will take is the only question." Kyuubi stated. "So how is it that he'll finally be able to change back?" Tsunade sought answers. Kyuubi said as he walked over to the open window and soaked up the sun until the two figured it out. "Take how to end the two jutsu and the information they gave you and figure it out." "Why am I outa?" Tsunade told himself, "Calm down, he's also an Otouto. You can't kill him, but you can hurt him a lot. I need to figure this out first. Then he'll talk to us again." For the first jutsu, the person must love their soulmate in order to use it. For the second, they must know that what they see is what's really going on inside. It doesn't make sense. Kyuubi wasn't telling them the answer, so Tsunade glared at him. "I swear, he's more like Otouto than you'd think." "Okay, what did they say about what took place?" "The ears showed up when he was mad and went away before he fell asleep with Hinata. He told Otouto that he could feel what he was feeling." Tsunade spoke out of the blue, Kyuubi. Her question was, what was he feeling before he fell asleep? Kyuubi raised his head and looked at her. To which she replied, calm and carefree, like he didn't have a care in the world at the time. He then put his head back down. He was at ease and stress free when he was with Hinata. Otouto doesn't use those two feelings anywhere in his writing. Finding your soulmate and getting to know yourself? It's not possible. All of a sudden, Tsunade thought. She turned to look at Kyuubi, who was grinning like crazy. You already got it? That was quick, she said. Jiraiya looked at them blankly and asked, could you explain how we're going to change Gaki back? Kyuubi's right, we can't do it, the only one that can is Otouto himself. Tsunade stated. Jiraiya asked, okay, so how is he going to change back then? He had to finally understand how he felt about his soulmate, Kyuubi said with a smile. There was a smile on Tsunade's face as he looked at Jiraiya. How is he going to do that? Better yet, how are we going to find his soulmate? Jiraiya asked, still not sure what to think. He asked, I swear you're so much like Otouto sometimes. Tsunade got mad at him and told him, Jiraiya, think about what they told us about what happened. They told him things that made Jiraiya think. When he finally understood, his eyes got really big. When Tsunade saw it, he had that stupid look on his face. He was thinking about it again in front of her, so Tsunade told him, don't even think about it, Jiraiya. Jiraiya said with a smile, now all we need is for him to figure it out. That more easier said than done. Kyuubi said. The two looked at him. He feels she's only there on orders from the Hokage and not out of her own free will, but I can tell he does have feeling for her, he just doesn't think she'll return them, so he doesn't say anything. Tsunade said in a sad voice, so we really can't do anything. He has to figure it out on his own. I'm sorry your searching was all in vain for me to give you this information. Kyuubi said, raising his head. Don't be silly, Kyuubi. At least we know what will change him back now, Tsunade said with a smile. Kyuubi nodded, then vanished in flames again. He then showed up in Naruto's room, where he was lying on the bed. The fix changed back into Naruto's form. The people from Team 8 who were supposed to meet were still waiting for Hinata at the meeting spot. Kiba asked, I wonder where she is? It is unlike her to not come without telling one of us she'll be late. Shino told us. Hi, but she might have to have stayed to look after Naruto. Kurenai stated. He said, I think something is wrong here. The two of them looked at him and asked, Shino, do you still have a Kakaichu bug on her? I only use them if we're on missions. If we are here I don't have them stay with you. Shino told us. You two listen, I'm going to head to the Hokage Tower to see if she has seen her. Kiba, I wasn't you and Akamaru to head to Naruto's house and see if she's still there with him? Kurenai stated. Shono asked, what do you want me to do? Shino, send out some of your Kakaichu bug and see if they can find her. Kurenai informed her. They nodded as the group split up and went their separate ways. And finally, Kurenai got to the Hokage's office. He knocked, but no one answered. As she walked in, she saw the flames on the floor go out. She was shocked by what she had seen. Was that Kyuubi? Kurenai asked, shocked that he had only been in the room for a moment and everything was fine. Hi, he came to tell us some information he had on how to end the jutsu. Tsunade told us. Can we? Kurenai asked, but Tsunade shook her head and said, oh. What brings you here, Kurenai? If memory serves me, you normally training with your team now. Tsunade now inquired. I came to ask if you see Hinata. We've been waiting for an hour and she didn't show up. Kurenai said to her. I haven't seen her. She still might be at Otouto's though. Tsunade stated. Hi, I thought of that too and sent Kiba and Akamaru out there to see if she is there. Shinoa, he said he had a bad feeling. I had him send out some of his bugs to find her too. Kurenai stated. Uriah asked, do you think there might be a problem? I don't know, but my team is good at feeling if something is wrong and they normally are right. Kurenai told me. Tsunade looked at Kurenai with her fingers crossed and said, if you can't find her, please come to me right away. Kurenai said yes, then went back to where her team was meeting in case Hinata was running late. A few minutes after Kyuubi got back to Naruto's house, Naruto woke up from what he thought was a nap. He didn't know that Kyuubi was going to see Tsunade. He sat up and stretched. Man, that was a good nap. I've never felt this rested before. A loud banging sound came from the front door all of a sudden. All right, I'm coming, Naruto said out loud so the person could hear as he walked past the kitchen on his way down the stairs. Naruto went to open the door, but it was kicked in hard. He was then thrown out and hit the steps below. Naruto stood up and rubbed his back angrily, saying, "Chikasue, that hurts." When he looked up, Kiba was standing in the doorway, looking upset. Naruto was furious and said, "Damn it Kiba, you better have a good reason for that." Kiba asked as she looked around the worried house, "Have you seen Hinata?" "What was going on?" Naruto asked. She left about an hour ago to meet with you." "Hi, she was supposed to, but she never got there," Kiba stated. Naruto was shocked and went to check the house to see if she was still there. Even though she didn't come running to see what was wrong after all the noise they had just made, he didn't think she was. Like the other people, Kiba looked in each room until he found the kitchen. "Naruto!" Kiba yelled. When Naruto heard Kiba's voice, he ran over to him. He looked at Kiba and asked, "Nani?" Naruto looked in the kitchen because Kiba told him to. He saw what Kiba saw. There was a mess in the kitchen. The chairs and table were broken up, and something was spilled out of several cabinets all over the floor. Kyuubi told him, "Kit, this isn't good." "I understand." Naruto told him, his face red with anger from what he saw. He said out loud, "It looks like this is how we found your apartment." If Kiba told you that Naruto and Kyuubi knew what had happened, you would say, "They found me." He said these words, which made Naruto even more angry, and Naruto stepped back because he felt like killing him. Naruto soon turned to look at Kiba. His eyes, which used to be blue, were now purple and angry. "Kiba, go back and tell Oba-chan that the people that trashed my apartment have taken Hinata-chan." Naruto said that. Kiba asked, "How do you know it's them?" Naruto growled, "We just do." He changed into the golden Kyuubi right then and began sniffing around for Hinata's scent. He saw Kiba still standing there when he found it. "What are you still doing here? Take Akamaru and get going," Naruto called out. He jumped out of the house and onto Akamaru, telling him, "Let go buddy as fast as you can to Hokage Tower." Akamaru barked to show that he heard what Kiba said, and they were gone in an instant. Naruto had just gone outside to follow the scent back inside. To Kit, Kyuubi said, "It's her." He said, "I know, and there are 3 humans with her." "Are you sure it's the ones that trashed your apartment and not ninjas from another village that have kidnapped her?" Kyuubi sought answers. It's them. I can smell my scent on them too." "It's the ones that trashed my apartment," Naruto said that. "Then you need to be careful. If they see you like you are now, they will attack." Kyuubi told me. Naruto asked, "Any ideas?" "Go to one-tails mode to sneak up on them. They won't pay attention to a one-tailed kitsune," Kyuubi advised him. "But what about my color?" Naruto asked. "It'll be alright, they won't pay attention, and if they do they'll just think the color's rare," Kyuubi said to him. "Alright," Naruto said as he merged his tails into one. After that, he went in the direction of Hinata's scent. She ran back to the Hokage Tower, but not before stopping at the training area to get Kurenai. They got to the tower just in time to find Shino already there. One of his Kakaichu bugs had told him what had happened. They ran into Tsunade's office very quickly. "Hokage Sama, she's been taken," Kurenai yelled as the group ran in. "Nani?" Tsunade yelled, putting her hand on her desk and getting up. "Izumo, Katetsu," Tsunade yelled. Right away, 2 Chunin guards showed up and said, "Find the rest of Chunin 9 and Guy's team and get them here right away. Also, tell Hiyashi I need to see him right away. It's very important," Tsunade told them. They gave a nod and then vanished in a puff of smoke. "Alright, we need to form search parties to find her," Tsunade spoke up. "He'll find her before we can do that," it said Kiba. "He? Do you mean Naruto?" when Tsunade asked. Kiba agreed. "Chikasue, Jiraiya, go after him and make sure he doesn't hurt anyone." The man heard Tsunade. Jiraiya said, "Yes," and jumped out of the window, calling up a warrior toad to help him get to Naruto's house faster. After a few minutes, the people who were called were in Tsunade's office. "Hokage Sama, might I ask why I was summoned?" I asked Hiyashi. Hi, I was just informed that Hinata didn't make it to team practice she had today. Kurenai sent Kiba to see if she might have forgotten and was taking care of Otouto, Tsunade said. Hiyashi and Neji were now worried. When he got there, Otouto told him she had left an hour before. So where is she? Feared, Neji asked. Tsunade put up her hand to stop him from talking further. As they looked, they saw that Naruto's kitchen was a mess. Naruto told Kiba it looked like his apartment did. Naruto is now on the hunt for the person who took her. Tsunade spoke up. Is that wise? Hiyashi asked with worry. When Tsunade saw the man, he was angry. Ishii, that makes me sad that you're worried about your Masumi's safety. But you should know that Otouto would never hurt her. Tsunade spoke up. I know he wouldn't, but in his current condition. It said Hiyashi. I sent Jiraiya to find Otouto as soon as Kiba told me he was following them. Right now, he should be getting close to him. All of you need to go to Otouto's house and start looking there. Tsunade spoke up. Hi. All of what the Chunin and Junin said went away in a big cloud of smoke. Hokage. Sama, I didn't mean anything, Hiyashi told Tsunade after they left the room. I know you didn't, Hiyashi, Tsunade said, raising her hand. I just don't know how Naruto will react if something happens to Hinata. Hiyashi signed and said, that boy still doesn't know she cares about him, does he? Tsunade shook her head and said, if he did, he's well again now. Hiyashi looked at her like she didn't understand, and Tsunade began to tell her what Kyuubi had told her and Jiraiya earlier that morning. When Jiraiya got to Naruto's house, he knew where the boy had gone. Even in Kitsune mode his stealth sucks. Jiraiya said as he ran through the woods and saw all the broken tree branches where the boy had gone. He jumped from tree to tree for a while until he stopped and saw something yellow moving quickly through the trees in front of him. Gaki. Jiraiya spoke out loud. The shape stopped on the branch it was on and turned to face the voice, which said, Arrow. Sennin, they took her. He barked. We get it, but calm down. You both. They're not going to hurt her because they live in Konoha. He said Jiraiya. They kidnapped her. Naruto yelled in anger. Hi, they did, but what do you think they thought they were doing? When Jiraiya asked him. With a tilt of his head to the side, Naruto said, they probably think they're keeping her safe from me. Also you still need to work on your stealth. He said Jiraiya. It wasn't me. They made that whole mess. He told him that he was angry that he thought he'd be that messy. Okay, so we need to sneak up on them. They probably expect you to show up, but you don't look like that. He said Jiraiya. He laughed and said, that's why I didn't keep the 9 tails out. It's because I told you to take them down. Kyuubi replied. You guys. Kyuubi heard Naruto say. Jiraiya saw the boy's smirk turn into anger as he looked at him. Gaki? Jiraiya asked a question. Kyuubi said something that annoyed me, Naruto told him with a shocked look. I just told you the truth. He said Kyuubi. I told you to shut it. He said out loud now. If you two can stop your fight I think we need to find Hinata. He said Jiraiya. Naruto looked at him and said, Kyuubi, we'll keep going with this later. I'll win in the end so why bother? What Kyuubi told him. They began to move again. Naruto was following Hinata's scent. At the same time, Tsunade's group had arrived at Naruto's house. On one side of the clearing, they saw a red thing. The group moved closer and saw that it was Gamakichi, the toad they knew. Yo. Gamakichi said as he raised one of its webbed feet. Jiraiya summon you to help us? Kakashi inquired. Yep, come on, they are rather far in the forest now. Gamakichi replied and jumped away. The chibi toad moved through the trees at an amazingly fast rate as he went deeper into the forest. The group knew where he was at all times. Kiba and Akamaru ran quickly on the ground, following the trail someone from the village had left. Jiraiya and Naruto went to the hut where Hinata was being held by 3 villagers. The 3 said that people from the village were talking outside the hut's door. We can't just leave her here. One man said he was upset. She could go back to the Hokage and tell her what we plan to do to the Bakemono for now. We still can't do anything about it because of the law. Another man said that what they had to do made him mad. But still leaving her tied up in there is just not right. He said. I know, but she won't be like that for long. He said this while putting his hand on his friend's shoulder. Naruto snarled at what they said about Hinata. The three people who heard the noise looked around to see where it came from. Whoa, who's there? Someone was scared that a ninja would see what they did and follow them. Just great Gaki. Jiraiya muttered something angry. I don't care. Naruto yelled in anger. If you don't come out now, we'll come in after you. Another man with a kunai in his hand said. The first man looked at the other man's gun and asked, Are you crazy? Watch, they'll come out. The other man said with a smirk. Still, no one came from where the noise was coming from. Finally, the other man with them took a stone and threw it where the noise had been. A yellow fox jumped out of the bushes when the stone hit the ground. It's just a kitsune. The person who threw the rock said. The worried man calmed down when he said that, but the man who was still holding the kunai looked at the fox with doubt. Strange. He said. He told them, I've never seen a yellow kitsune before. As he spoke, the fox sat down in front of the bush and looked at the three of them with a smile. Well, that might be because I'm not a normal kitsune, bah. Caw. The fox spoke now. It would be too mild to say that the three men were shocked. As it moved toward them, the fox's tail spread out into 9 different shapes. It's the Kyuubi. They each said. Impossible, the Kyuubi was red, not yellow. Someone else said. Maybe this is a new Kyuubi. The third man said, his grip on the kunai getting stronger. Nope. Someone said, same Kyuubi you've known all along. You're the boy. The first man spoke. As the fox got closer to the three, he just kept grinning at them. Give me Hinata. Chan. Naruto made noise. Never, you've tricked her with your magic. Kitsune, she need to be away from you for the effect to end. Someone said. Not only Naruto, but also Jiraiya, who was still hidden, laughed at what he said. Yeah, right, if only Gaki knew the girl is head over heels for him. In a whisper, Jiraiya. That's when he felt someone else coming, and then there were people next to him. His friends and their sensei were there when he looked over his shoulder. Shoo. Jiraiya told them while putting his finger to his mouth. The group moved over to where Jiraiya was in silence. Where's Naruto? Kakashi inquired. It was in the clearing that Jiraiya saw Naruto walking slowly toward the 3 scared villagers. Are you going to stop him? Ino asked, scared about what would happen to them after what happened with Otto the last time. Nope. Jiraiya told him, let him have fun with them. I'll only step in if things get out of hand. Everyone who was hiding saw Naruto make a bunchen of himself and then erase it. The villagers didn't see it. They saw that the door to the hut was moving. Naruto kept getting closer to the 3 of them and started to grow and point his teeth at them in anger. Give me Hinata. Chan. Again, Naruto said in a rage. As I told you before, Bakemono, we will not let you keep the Hyuga heir as you slave. Someone said. Naruto began to howl with laughter as he spoke. What's so funny? The man asked, angry at being made fun of. Do you believe that Hinata Chan works for me? From the bottom of her heart, she wants to stay there as a mission. Naruto said with a laugh. Naruto's bunchen was running quickly inside the hut to find Hinata. He heard a voice that was hard to make out and saw Hinata tied up in the corner with tape over her mouth. Angry at what the man had done to her, he looked back at the door. He talked to Naruto about what they had done while he did this. When Naruto found out this, he got more angry. You taped her up and tied her up? You call me the Bakemono. Why would you want to do that? While his anger was rising, Naruto asked. He was also getting bigger. How did you do that? Asked a shocked man. As Naruto walked up to the men who were still growing, his eyes lit up purple with anger. While that was going on, inside the hut, Bunchen bit Hinata's rope binds in half, letting her rip off the tape. Naruto. Kun. She said happily and gave her a hug. Hi. Chan. I'm glad you're safe, but I need to get you out of here. The real me is keeping the Bakas busy right now. What the Bunchen said. The real you? Hinata was shocked and asked. The Bunchen said, all right. Come on. Get going. Now that Hinata had added weight, he climbed onto Bunchen's back, which made him bigger to fit. Naruto was getting tired from what he was doing outside the hut. He had finally stopped growing and could look the three men straight in the eye. "Kit, you need to end this now or you're going to hurt yourself badly." Kyuubi was upset. "I had no idea, Kyuubi, that you cared." What Naruto told him. Naruto ran as fast as they thought he could toward them, and he jumped into the air with his claws outstretched and his growl very scary. He then sat down right in front of the three of them. "Boo," Naruto said with a smile, making the man pass out. As they watched him from the bushes, the group broke out in a cold sweat. He shook his head and said, "I should have known he would do that." "Baka." Sasuke spoke up. After that, Naruto turned his head as his bunshin showed up with Hinata on his back. As soon as she got off, it was gone. He smiled at her as he looked at her. "I'm glad you're safe, Hinata Chan," Naruto said with a smile. He smiled back at Hinata, who looked shocked when she saw him start to sway. She rushed over to him just as he fell and caught him before he hit the ground hard. "Naruto-kun." As the others ran out of their hiding place, Hinata said, worried. Concern showed on their faces. Naruto puffed up and turned back into a person. He smiled at her and said, "Gomen, I kind of went overboard with that form." Naruto passed out in Hinata's arms, and she said, "Oh Naruto-kun." She told him this as she cried and hugged him for what he had done for her. When they got to Naruto, Sakura ran in front of them all. "Get out of my way," Sakura said quickly. As soon as she got to them, she ran her blue glow hands over Naruto's body. She looked up at her with a smile when Hinata looked at her with worry. "He'll be fine, Hinata. They lost a lot of chakra to the Baka," Sakura let her know. He smiled because he was glad he wasn't hurt too badly. They picked up the three villagers who were out of it, threw them over their shoulder, and then quickly ran away. "Jiraiya, we're going to take these three to Hokage Sama for her to deal with," what Asuma said. When Asuma, Guy, and Kurenai left the group, Jiraiya gave them a nod. Kakashi went up to the two girls, picked up Naruto, and put him on her back. "You know, I do think this getting a habit for you," Jiraiya said with a smile to Kakashi. Kakashi laughed and smiled behind his mask. "Maybe so, but for Arashi Sensei's Masuko, I'll put up with it." They smiled and went back to Naruto's house with the two adults. As soon as they got to the house, Kakashi went upstairs, put Naruto to bed, and then came back downstairs. "Well, I don't think he'll be waking up anytime soon, so you all can return home," he said Jiraiya. The group said, yes, and got up to leave. The sensei were coming back to the Hokage Tower with the three villagers on their shoulders. As soon as Hiashi and Tsunade sensed them, they turned around to see them. "Who are those men?" Hiashi asked, shocked to see the villager being brought in. "They are the man that kidnapped your Masumi, though from what we heard they thought they were rescuing her," Asuma told us. "Rescuing?" Tsunade asked angrily, her fists clenched at the men's actions while they were unconscious. He laughed at her words and said, "Ha ha, it looks like they thought Naruto had used kitsune magic on her and made her his slave." At that moment, Hiashi laughed out loud at the men's reasoning. The laughter from Hiashi woke the three of them up from their sleep. They were tied together by the senseis and put in front of the Hokage. They turned white when they saw who they were facing. Tsunade yelled, "You have good reason to be scared." "Demo, Hokage Sama, we were just..." One man began, but Hiashi cut him off. "Taking my Masumi hostage," Hiashi said in a serious tone. We saved her from the Bakemono," said another man. Tsunade then punched him through the wall and said, "Otouto is no Bakemono." Hiashi looked at the unconscious man in the wall and said, "Hi, the only Bakemono I see here are you two and your badly hurt friend over there." The first man tried to explain what they were doing by saying, "Demo, my Masumi is taking care of him as a mission by the Hokage Sama. She was never kidnapped by him," Hiashi informed them. "Then why is he living out in the middle of Konoha Forest? In an unknown house on top of that?" the last man inquired. "That house was left to him by his Otouto, and since you three so kindly trashed his apartment, I decided to let him know about his family and live there finally. That place is so far out only a ninja has enough strength to get out there without being tired out from the trip." According to Tsunade. "It has a family?" the shocked man asked. Tsunade got mad at how they were talking about Naruto and said, "Hi, Naruto had a family. But they both died in the Kyuubi attack." The other person asked, "Then who?" "For now that's still S. Class info, but when I do tell you all, which I assure you will be sometime soon, you'll regret how you've treated him," Tsunade said, glancing at the men. "Asuma, Kurenai, get them out of my sight. Have Ibiki have a little talk with them. Guy, get the other and take him to the hospital. Tell Shizune to heal him and have Anbu guard on him till he can be taken to Ibiki too," Tsunade said, turning her back to the villagers. They gave one man a nod, grabbed him, and then vanished in a cloud of smoke. He said, "Well, that was interesting." Tsunade grabbed her green jacket and asked, "Yes, do you want to come?" Hiyashi gave them a nod as they left her office and went to the Konoha forest. The boy was sound asleep in Naruto's room. When he woke up, he saw something strange. He was looking at a burning Konoha. Someone sighed in irritation, "Not this again." Naruto caught the sound. When he turned around, there was a Kyuubi the size of a grizzly bear next to him. Kyuubi asked, "Really, Kit, do you have to drag me into this same nightmare every time you have it?" He was sick of being here again. What did Naruto say to the fox? "But I just got here." They could see that what was left of Konoha was on fire, and the other half of the village was turned into a huge crater. Naruto got very angry when he saw how badly his village was being damaged. He shed a tear when he saw it. Kyuubi looked at the kid. Kyuubi was mad and asked, "Kid, why are we back here again?" Now Naruto saw the fox and was shocked to see it. Kyuubi, "He's coming," he stressed. Kyuubi looked at Naruto with wide eyes and asked, He's who? You have been hiding something from me, haven't you?" Naruto sighed, "The one that's been causing me problems recently. The reason my emotions are all messed up." That being the case, Kyuubi asked, "Then why am I back here?" "Because we're now linked," said a different voice. Then someone in a torn black cloak with a hood jumped in front of them. He stood there for a while and didn't move. "Why do you still bother me?" Naruto yelled at the figure. A figure with a smirk in his voice said, "Because I only show you what will happen." Kyuubi was taken aback by the other figure and asked, "What will happen? Who did this?" The first time he came here, the whole place was on fire, and Naruto was crying in the middle of it. He had comforted the boy, which is also when he saw this figure for the first time. But he was gone before he could get close enough to see who or what it was. "This is the person from before who made me think of the hubby," the Kyuubi thought. The figure took off the cloak's hood and showed itself to the two people. He was shocked by what he saw. The person looked a lot like Naruto, but even more animal. He had 2 ears like a fox sticking out of his head. His hair looked like it was full of blood, but you could still see some of the golden yellow color. The face of the figure was stretched out to make it look like it had a nose, but it was still just skin. His eyes were more red than Kyuubi's. When Kyuubi looked down, he saw that the figure's legs were the same length as his. He also thought he saw something following behind him, kind of like a tail. "I did what you see in front of you," the figure said with a smirk, pointing to the village on fire behind them. Angry, Kyuubi asked, "Who are you?" The person pointed at Naruto and said, "Him." Kyuubi looked at the boy, whose head was bowed. The figure made Kyuubi shake his head and say, "Kit could never do this." "Quite right, but you could say I'm what would have been created if the Baka Habi had performed the jutsu correctly. Thought I must hand it to the Uchiha boy if he hadn't have killed that Habi I would have and then headed straight for Konoha. I call myself Sayukanai," the figure said wryly. The figure didn't blink when Kyuubi looked at it like, "You've got to be kidding me." "What do you mean you like a bad kit?" Kyuubi asked. It made the figure laugh and say, "Not likely. I'm a totally different being. Much stronger than both of you." Kyokanai was angry and told Kyuubi, "Kit would never do this to Konoha." "You're right, he wouldn't, but I'm slowly gaining control and soon he won't be able to stop me, and when I do finally get free no one will be left alive in this god-forsaken village. Unlike here," Sayukanai said smiling. He asked, "What do you mean unlike here?" Sayukanai looked at Naruto angrily and said, "I made this world out of his nightmares, but I can't put people in it just to kill them for fun. He won't let me. That means Kit still has power over him." The Kyuubi thought. "Okay, I'm going to destroy even more of this useless village." I need more practice before I go play, the figure said, and then it was gone. The two of them had just arrived back at the house. When they heard the door open, the three people in the kitchen looked up. Tsunade asked in a loud voice, Jiraiya? He was trying to figure out where they were. Jiraiya replied, in the kitchen. They saw Hinata making them tea as they walked to the kitchen. Hokage. Sama, a Tucson, would you like some? Hinata asked with a smile as she looked at the guests. They glanced at her, smiled, and she went to the cabinet and got 2 more teacups. She came back with the cup, sat them down in front of the 2 new people, and poured the tea. She smiled as Tsunade looked at her. When she was done making her dad tea, he stopped her by putting his hand on hers. I'm glad you're okay, Masumi, Hiyashi said with a smile as Hinata looked up at him. There was a smile on Hinata's face as she said, Hi, Naruto. Kun saved me again. Where is Jiraiya? Tsunade asked with worry. In his room sleeping. Apparently the stuff he did in his Kyuubi form take a toll on him and almost drained him of their chakra from what Sakura was able to gather. Kakashi replied. They were now back in Kyuubi's room, where he was staring at the boy standing in front of him with his head down. The angry Kyuubi asked, so this is what you didn't tell me before? Naruto exhaled, I didn't see who did it before. This is only the second time I've met him face to face. He has something to do with the jutsu the hubby did, that's all I knew. He keeps on getting stronger each day and I don't know what to do. Keeping looking at the floor. Kyuubi looked sad at the boy and said, Oh Kit. He put out 2 tails and wrapped them around Naruto. He then pulled the boy to him. Naruto looked up at the copy of himself that looked like a fox and started to cry. He held on to the tails like they were a support line and said, Kyuubi, I'm afraid. One day I won't be strong enough and I'll let him win. He'll destroy my home and family. I don't know what to do. With a sigh, Kyuubi told the boy, You must tell them, Kit. He shook his head and said, I can't. They'll kick me out. Now Kit, after all you have been through. With me I don't know how many times trying to take control of you to destroy the village. Have they given up on you? Kyuubi sought answers. That's when Naruto's face turned into a painful mess and he sniffled. Kit? Kit. Kyuubi yelled when he saw the boy in pain and heard his screams reverberating through the room. Kyuubi was shocked to see that the boy had changed more into a Sayukanai. Naruto was in so much pain that tears were running down his face. Can't let her see me, he screamed between tears. As they talked about what had happened, there was a scream and a huge surge of chakra that shook the house. The people hurried up the stairs to get to Naruto's room. They heard Naruto just as they were about to open the door. Hinata. Chan, stay out. Naruto screamed, his voice filled with pain. When Hinata heard his voice from behind the door, she was scared and said, Naruto. Kun. Hinata. Chan, don't come in. Stay away. Naruto yelled in fear as another scream echoed through the room. Jiraiya sternly told Gaki, We're coming in. Naruto yelled, but there was another scream in the house. Jiraiya opened the door and said, Gomen Gaki, but you can't do anything to stop us. Hinata was crying again when Tsunade looked over at her and said, Hinata, stay here for now. The adults came in and shut the door behind them. Hinata nodded and stayed by the door. Naruto was covered in red chakra that was swirling around him very quickly. Kyuubi yelled, Kit, you have to fight him. Naruto spoke with clenched teeth and tears in his eyes, I'm trying. Trying to do what, Otouto? Tsunade asked him. The Naruto said, fighting him off. Who? Jiraiya asked, still not sure. Kit, tell them. Kyuubi spoke up. The Naruto said, Sayukanai. What the hell is Sayukanai? Now Jiraiya was confused and asked. He is the one who is changing me even more. Naruto said with pain in his voice, that's what the jutsu was supposed to make me. The chakra soon went away, and Naruto sat up in bed, heavy with breath. He looked over at them and saw that they were shocked. Nani? He asked Naruto. He heard his voice was rougher, and when he got out of bed, the first thing he saw was that his legs and feet were now Kyuubi's, just like Sayukanai's had been. He screamed as he climbed back into bed, pulled the sheet over him, and curled up into a ball. In a soft voice, Tsunade told the boy, Otoudo, come out. She sat down on the edge of the bed. Ee. Naruto yelled, and from under the sheets, a quiet sob could be heard. When Tsunade touched him on the shoulder to get him to look at her, he violently shook it off. Tsunade looked at the other person, upset about what to do next. Just then, the door squeaked open, and Hinata walked in, her eyes still wet with worry as she saw everyone looking at her. Tsunade told her to be quiet and come in, and she did. She sat down next to Tsunade, who was still sitting on Naruto's bed. He told Gaki, come on, get out of there, and hoped he would. I can see that I'm turning into a bakemono. Soon, I'll be the one who hurts everyone I care about. Naruto said in a sad voice, just leave me alone. He moved away from where he thought Tsunade was in bed. After the adults looked at each other, Hinata said, all right, Otoudo, we're leaving. Tsunade then spoke, and the adults left the room. Hinata stood there with tears still running from her eyes while Naruto stayed curled up under the sheets. That's when she realized he was crying too. Naruto said and sat up in bed, it's always the same. I'm always alone. When Hinata heard this, she was shocked by what he said. She quickly moved to the other side of his bed to get closer to him, but he was so upset that he didn't notice that his bed had become heavier or that the sheet covering his body had been taken off. Hinata looked down at him and saw that his face was back in his paws, and his body was shaking from crying. She touched him, and he moved to hug someone nearby, crying on their shoulder. It's Hinata. Chan. She saw what happened. Naruto was shocked when he learned what had happened. Kit, she's not running, she's trying to help, tell her. Kyuubi told her. Naruto still didn't want to tell her what was going on with him. After a few minutes of silence, he finally spoke, arigato. What for? She asked Hinata. Naruto still hugged her and said, thank you for staying with me and not leaving me alone. Hinata told Naruto, the only reason the others left you alone was because they thought I could help you better than they could. She hoped he would understand. What makes them think that? They didn't want to be near Konoha's bakemono, Naruto asked with anger in his voice. Haruno felt and saw Hinata's fear as she looked at him in shock. He realized what he had done and was able to calm down. He growled at what he had done and then let out a sigh to calm down. Still, thanks for staying. After what happened, even more so. Naruto pointed to his body as he spoke. What had happened? Hinata looked at him and saw that his feet were now like his hand and looked like Kyuubi's paws. He looked even more wild than before, and his eyes had a red tint around the irises and red streaks in his hair. After a couple of minutes of silence, Naruto finally spoke. Hello, Hinata. Chan. Are you sure? Naruto asked her, looking at her with interest. I'm not going to leave you. Please tell me what's going on, Hinata said in a sad voice. Gomen Hinata. Chan I. Naruto said as he turned away from her. Hinata gave him another hug and said, it's okay, Naruto. Kun. You don't have to tell me now. I'll be ready to listen when you are ready. The words she said shocked Naruto. He smiled at her, hugged her back, and cried happily because he hadn't brought it up with her. Some time had passed, and Tsunade thought it was time for Naruto and Kyuubi to come in so he could explain what he had been talking about when the chakra surge had changed him again. It was Tsunade who nodded as Naruto and Hinata walked into the office. The guards then shut the door. Shizune was to the right of Tsunade. After taking off his mask, Naruto looked at Tsunade with worry, guessing what she was going to say. He looked at Hinata with fear in his eyes. He must not have told Tsunade about this yet, since she saw it. Shizune. Shizune walked over to Tsunade and said, take Hinata and see where she is in her medical jutsu training. Take her and help her. Shizune said, yes, and went to Hinata. He smiled at Hinata when she looked over at him. I'll be alright, Hinata. Chan, you go and get stronger. Naruto told her to keep going. After giving him a smile and a nod, Hinata and Shizune left the room. Alright, Otoudo. Since Hinata is no longer there, could you please explain what you said 2 days ago? Tsunade asked as the boy looked at her. That day, the group of adults who had seen him change even more were all looking at him, not sure what was going on. I guess there's no way out of this, Naruto said as he signed. Not unless you can Major League bullshit your way out of this one. Kyuubi said he was trying to be funny. This is what Naruto said, Baka Kitsune. The group looked at him and asked him what he meant. Naruto, are you talking to Kyuubi? I asked Hiyashi. Naruto looked at him and said, yeah, he's being a jerk. I'm not. He said Kyuubi. Hello, you're the Baka kitten. You're always a jerk to me. Naruto replied. Humph. Naruto replied, and Kyuubi cut off his connection with this person. Finally some peace and quiet. Naruto was glad he could no longer hear Kyuubi. What do you mean, Naruto? Kakashi wanted to know. Meaning I annoyed the kitsune enough to leave me alone for a little bit. Naruto said with a laugh. Oh no, stop messing with Kyuubi. This is important. Please explain what's going on. The stern Tsunade said. This made Naruto stop laughing, and he looked up at the worry in everyone else's eyes. We will listen to you, Naruto, and not judge you. Don't forget that we want to help you get back to normal. He said this after seeing the look in the boy's eyes. I signed, Naruto. Okay, I guess it all began when we got home. That was my first time meeting him. Who? Kakashi inquired. The Naruto said, Sayukanai. Who is this Sayukanai? Jiraiya asked, still not sure who or what this was. First let me explain what happened the first night I got Baka, Naruto said as he talked about his first nightmare and how Kyuubi had come and taken away the hooded figure in front of him. Okay, so the figure was this Sayukanai? To try to figure out what was being said, Tsunade asked. Right. He said Naruto. So what does he have to do with anything? Kakashi inquired. After that, I felt better for a few weeks, but soon I had another bad dream. This time it took longer, and Kyuubi never showed up. He spoke, still scared from what he had seen. What happened in this one? Hiyashi asked, seeing how upset the boy looked. When I got there, Konoha was the same as it is now. Everything was still together, but as I watched, something attacked it and the buildings started to fall apart. At that point, I started to worry that everyone was hurt or not okay, so I ran to the areas that were still standing to check on people. But when I got to these places, there was no one there. At this point, I started to worry because I thought everyone was dead, but the figure showed up again. He said Naruto. Did he tell you anything this time? Asked Tsunade. He told me I wasn't worrying about anything. That I wouldn't let my friend get hurt, not even in my dreams, so no one was here. He told me his name was Sayukanai when I asked him who he was. I asked him why he was in my nightmare, and he told me that he was the one who made the jutsu from the hubby work, but because he messed it up, he was stuck there. Naruto spoke up. So this is a good thing. Jiraiya said with a smile. It isn't. Naruto said, growling in anger. The adults all looked at him and said, Arrow. Senin, look at me. What happened the other day is because of him. Every day he gets stronger, and if I can't get rid of this baddest jutsu. He stopped and looked down at the ground. There was worry in the boy's eyes, so Tsunade got up from her desk and gave him a big hug. Suddenly, Naruto got mad that they were putting him against them. Get away from me. He yelled at her. He pushed Tsunade off of him and ran out the window that was open. The group first looked at her, then at where Naruto had left. He needs some time to calm down after what's been going on. It's likely that what this Sayukanai is trying to do to him caused that to happen. Tsunade said, upset about what had took place. Hokage. Sama, is there a way to undo the jutsu? Hiyashi asked, now worried about both Hinata and Naruto's safety. Hi. Jiraiya and Tsunade said together. Well then why not do it? Kakashi asked, shocked by what he had learned. Because we can't. He said Jiraiya. Huh? Kakashi asked, are you sure? Kakashi, the only one that can undo that jutsu is Naruto, and I don't know if he'll ever figure out. While looking at Hiyashi, Tsunade said. She looked at him with meaning in her eyes, and he asked, so that's what it is? Tsunade said, yes, and went back to her desk to sit down again. What is that? What should Naruto do? Kakashi asked, looking back and forth between Tsunade and Hiyashi. That's not what I'm telling you. It's bad enough that the Super Tsukube knows about it. Tsunade was angry. Oh come on, you can tell Hima. Jiraiya was cut off when Tsunade punched him in the face and threw him out of the building. Shizune. Tsunade yelled. After a short time, Shizune and Hinata came in. Hinata looked around, not sure where Naruto had gone. He left via window. Hinata. Tsunade said that seeing her was hard. She then began to wonder why he would leave. I think he got angry and needed to get some air. He'll be at his house for sure when you get there. What Hiyashi told her. How is she progressing, Shizune? She asked with a nod. Ask Tsunade. Her level is the same as Sakura's, Tsunade. Sama. She'll be one of our best medical nin if she keeps up this level of work. Shizune said, smiling at the girl who was in shame. Good job, Hinata. I want you to keep training and use the new jutsu Shizune taught you today. Tsunade spoke up. She bowed and nodded, then left the group to go find Naruto. Just like her Okasan, Hiyashi? Tsunade spoke up. Hi. Hiyashi said as he left the office to take a break and think about what he had learned. Tsunade. Sama, where is Jiraiya? What did Shizune ask? Tsunade. Sama again? Tsunade asked as she looked behind her at a large hole in the wall. Get him and take him to the hospital right away. It looks like I'll just give him that room for good. Tsunade spoke up. Shizune agreed with what she said and then left with Kakashi to get Toad Sanin, who was badly hurt. Tsunade put her face in her hand as soon as they were all gone. One tear ran down her bare face. What are we going to do? Tsunade said sad things. Naruto was sitting on the porch steps when Hinata got to the area around the house that was clear. He looked at her directly, but it looked like he was also looking through her. He must have Kyuubi in mind. Hinata thought when she saw Naruto's eyes were cloudy. She went up to him and sat down next to him for a while. He still hadn't come out of it. He probably showed how he felt because of Kyuubi on his face, which made her laugh. By the time she touched his shoulder, she was sick of just sitting there. She hoped they were done. He woke up from the daze the contact had put him in and was shocked to see Hinata sitting there. Is she mad at me? Naruto asked with worry mixed in with his smile. Hokage. Sama, no, why should she be? She asked Hinata. For what I did to her. Naruto said as he remembered how he lost control once more. It's happening more often every day, even with Hinata here. Naruto believed. When Hinata saw him lose focus again, she poked him in the sides. Hey. Naruto said as he came back to the present and looked over at Hinata, who was laughing at him. He laughed out loud and scratched the back of his head. Come on, Naruto. Kun. Hinata said, getting up and putting out her hand to help him get off the step. Then they began to walk. To where? He asked Naruto. Hinata said, to the back. Why? What did Naruto ask now? To spar. Hinata told him what happened. At this point, Naruto stopped, which made Hinata stop too. She turned around and looked at him again. Hey, Hinata. Chan. That's not a good idea, in my opinion. Naruto voiced worry. If you're afraid I'll get hurt, then don't bother. It was stern from Hinata. When she said that, Naruto was shocked and said, you need to train to be able to control your new powers, and I need it too. In the end, this is good for both of us. But I could Euro, the look that Hinata gave Naruto stopped him in his tracks. Sakura doesn't look as scary when she does that. Naruto believed. You won't, and I'm not as weak as you think I am. Hinata told him as she pulled him behind her. Naruto took a deep breath as he thought about the mess he had made. Good job, Kit. I knew it was wrong to say that to my partner. He said Kyuubi. He was told to be quiet by Naruto. In the end, he could hear the fox laughing about his new situation. Both of them were tired by the end of the day. Kyuubi, please remind me not to make Hinata Chan mad again. Naruto thought as he tried to catch his breath after all of her attacks. I told you, you were going to be sorry. Kyuubi smiled at what the girl had asked the boy to think and said, I have to say it was very entertaining. Having a girl give you the finger. For you. Naruto let out a scream. She asked Naruto as he came back with 2 water bottles, are you two up to no good again? As Hinata gave Naruto the bottle, he laughed and rubbed the back of his head. Say Hinata. Chana Euro, he said. Naruto. She asked him, where did you learn all those jutsu? As she watched him drink water. Many of those aren't Hyuga jutsu, are they? Hinata was shocked when he saw that Anyo saw. I kind of took what I knew about Hyuga Jutsu and made some that work with the way I fight, since many of them aren't really my style. Hinata spoke up. Naruto agreed with her answer and asked, have you ever shown Hiashi? She quickly shook her head no when he asked. I couldn't heed. Naruto saw that she was mad and said, Hinata-chan. He probably wouldn't be as mad as you think he would be. Not at all. I think he'd be proud that his Masumi could make his own jutsu. I'm sure a Tucson would be proud of how quickly I learned everything I did. Most notably the Rasengan. She was shocked and asked, what do you mean, Naruto? Kun? She looked shocked at him, and he said, huh? You mean you don't know? Naruto laughed and said, thought for sure Oba. Chan and Arrow. Sennin would have told the whole village about that one. Hinata shook her head at his question. About what? Still not sure what Naruto was talking about, Hinata asked. Naruto's friends decided to visit him that day and happened to see the two sparring in the forest. They stayed there to watch the fight without telling the two. They were amazed at the two of them's skills, to say the least. Neji, did you know she could do those? Tenten asked in shock at what they had just seen. Neji sighed, though Naruto is correct that Hiashi will be very proud of her once he finds out and see them. She's been working on them for years. He said calmly. The people in the group looked over at him to find out more. We were asked to help her get stronger after Naruto left. She was able to make the jutsus you saw her use at that time. Kiba went on to explain what Shino meant. Why doesn't anyone seem to be wondering what's going on with Naruto too? It asked Shikamaru. What are you talking about? He asked her. Naruto was sitting there, and he said, look at him. Everyone in the group now looked closely at the boy and saw the same thing Shikamaru did. Shut up. They'll pay attention. It was Sakura who told the groups. How I learned the Rasengan. He smiled and looked out of the corner of his eye at her. Hinata didn't notice what was going on, but Naruto knew that the group that was hiding had been there since the middle of their fight. He smiled bigger when he saw Hinata. Hey Hinata-chan, why don't you get the others to come over? They won't have to strain to hear what I have to say that way. He said Naruto. She was shocked as he looked in the direction of where the group was hiding. The group was shocked that he knew they were there. The group no longer saw any reason to hide and came out from the brush. Getting used to those senses, a loudmouth. Kiba said with a grin. He said, hi, and I would think you would know better than to be where the wind would bring your scent directly to me. Naruto laughed. Kiba looked shocked. They hadn't thought about that while they were watching the group. He laughed out loud and said, I guess Kiba needs to learn some new tricks. The others laughed, which made Kiba growl back. Soon, Kiba joined the groups. So are you going to tell us? Ino inquired. About Rasengan? As everyone nodded, Naruto said, I guess as long as you're here. This led to Sakura hitting Naruto in the head. An angry Naruto rubbed the back of his head. Okay, so Arrow. Sennin taught me the Rasengan as a way to pass the time before we left to find Oba. Chan and make her the Hokage again. He would teach me a new part of the jutsu as we went. Someone told me I might never learn the jutsu. He said Naruto. Why? Did Choji ask? Arrow. Sennin said that a Tucson made the jutsu and that it took him 3 years to make it perfect. Arrow. Sennin learned it in the same amount of time. He didn't think I'd understand that fast. He was sadly wrong. Naruto said with a smile. Why do you say that? Sasuke spoke up. I was on the last step of the jutsu when we found Oba. Chan. When we met Oba. Chan, she said something about OG. San and the Hokages that made me really mad. When we got into a fight, I tried to use Rasengan on her, but she just waved it away with her finger. Naruto spoke up. When everyone saw how strong the Hokage was, they all winced. She bet with me. Her OG. San, the Nidem, gave her this necklace, and if I could master it all in a week, she would give it to me and come back to Konoha with us. That's why I agreed, Naruto said with a smile. And? Lee asked with excitement. I trained night and day the whole time until I collapsed from exhaustion. He said Naruto. Baka. Sasuke whispered Naruto gave him a mean look for what he said. When I woke up, I learned that Oba-chan had gone to fight the hubby. They had come to find her to help heal the arms that Oji-san had locked away. Oba-chan couldn't fight when we got to the battlegrounds. He said. Naruto. Why? He asked Tenten. Well, Kabuto had blood all over her, and she was scared of blood at the time. I used the Rasengan on Kabuto to save her in the end. I won the bet and learned the Rasengan in 3 weeks, even though Kage Bunshin had to help me form it. Naruto said with a smile. The story the boy told either made everyone gasp or had their jaws drop. They were shocked at how quickly he had learned that Hokage-level jutsu. As they turned the corner to go back to Naruto's house, everyone could see how much the boy had changed. Most of them were worried about what had happened, and some were not sure if they should talk about it since the two hadn't said anything. Anyo saw Naruto Ayuro. When everyone got into the kitchen, Hinata and Sakura got food and drinks from the fridge for them. Then Ino began. What happened? Naruto asked Ino as he looked over at her. Huh? Naruto asked, forgetting that they hadn't seen him since starting to change. Naruto. Kun, I think she means about how you look now. Hinata told him what happened. Oh. Well. It looks like the jutsu is still working, and it's slowly getting better, Naruto said with a smile and a rub on the back of his head. Hey Kyuubi, take that. Naruto believed. That doesn't answer all of my questions, Kit. The pretty girl won't buy it, but the others might. What Kyuubi told him. For the last time, she's not my sexy girl. Naruto yelled at him. Everyone else, except Hinata and Sasuke, didn't notice that he was off. Both of them looked at him with doubt but didn't say anything. So have they found out how to end it? What's wrong with my friend? Choji asked. Naruto waved his head. Oba-chan and Arrow Sennin are still looking, but they haven't found anything they'd tell me if they had. Naruto quickly changed the subject. Oh, how about I tell you guys about what Arrow Sennin and I did while we were away. As Naruto began to tell them a different story about his 2.5 years away from Konoha, everyone in the group smiled and found a seat. He went back and forth between Sakura and Hinata. You saw that too, didn't you? He asked Hinata. That's what he does when he talks to Kyuubi, Hinata agreed. He won't tell me what they talk about most of the time, though. Probably talk about you. Sasuke said with a smile. Hinata blushed and looked at him with wide eyes when he said that. But Sakura heard what Sasuke said and hit him in the side for making Hinata look bad. Sakura and Itai, I just want to say. She glared at him and said, geez, how did you get that down so well? Well, you know, I have this teammate who does it all the time and I just happened to pick up on it, Sakura said with a laugh. Sakura's answer made Sasuke laugh and smile. Hinata smiled as she watched them talk to each other. She then let out a sigh and said, I wish Naruto-kun and I were that way. The kids' parents didn't have to worry about them because it got late and the group left. Naruto and Hinata were back there by themselves after a while. They watched TV in the living room after dinner. They both began to yawn soon after. I think it's time we head to be Naruto-kun. What Hinata said. Naruto didn't say anything because he was too tired. They went to their room by going up the stairs. He walked right into his room without saying a word, and as soon as he touched the bed, he fell asleep. Because he forgot to close the door, Hinata saw the whole thing. First, he laughed at what had happened and then saw how much he had changed. Oh Naruto-kun, I really wish you'd tell me the truth. Hinata said in a sad voice as she went to her room to get ready for bed. She didn't know it, but Naruto had just pretended to be asleep while she watched him. He was able to hear what the girl had said with her new ears. With sad eyes, he looked at the spot where she used to be and said, Gomen Hinata-chan, if I tell you, you're leaving me for sure. It had been 2 months since Naruto changed with the help of all of his jutsu. He checked with Tsunade every week to see if they had found anything, but every week they told him the same thing. He was going to ask her again today, like every week. Naruto saw that the guards weren't there when he walked into the office. It's odd that they're always at Oba-chan's door. Naruto believed. He didn't seem to care, though, and went into her office anyway. He was shocked to see Homura and Kaharu, 2 older Konoha, in the office with her and Jiraiya. The person who had just come in was looked at by the four. The two older men were startled to see someone wearing the Ambu mask of the Kitsune. They then turned their attention back to Tsunade. "Tsunade, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that mask supposed to belong to the Hokage?" he asked Homura. "Hi, but I allowed this person to wear it, since I don't fight unlike the last owner of the mask," Tsunade said, giving a hint as to who it was. The two of them looked at her with surprise and then back at the figure, who was now fidgeting nervously. "Baka, think of a way out of this," what Kyuubi told him. "Please forgive me, Hokage. Sama, I thought you were in a meeting since the guards were not there. I just got to." Naruto tried to get Tsunade to forgive him. "Otouto, just forget about it." "But it did finally get you to call me Hokage," Tsunade said with a smile. "Ha ha, that's really funny," she said, making everyone laugh. "So you finally let him have the house, eh?" I asked Kaharu. Naruto was shocked by what she said, and Tsunade agreed with her. "Nani? Do you mean they knew too?" Naruto yelled in shock. "Don't yell," Jiraiya told the boy as he hit him over the head. He glared at his sensei through his mask and asked, "Why do all the other people know that Yondaime is my Atusan but me?" "If was for your own safety, Naruto, he had many enemies after the Great War. If Nu got out a Euro," Homura began to talk about it. "No need, I get it." He then looked at Tsunade and asked, "Oba-chan?" Tsunade shook her head because she knew what he wanted. Naruto put on a show, even though he was sad again. "That's alright, I'll head back home now." As he turned to leave, he said. Everyone looked sad at him and could hear the disappointment in his voice. The elders looked back at Tsunade as he left and shut the door. "What's going on?" I asked Kaharu. The signature of Tsunade said, "I guess there's no hiding it now." "No hiding what?" he asked Homura. What Orochimaru did to Gaki was mess with the seal. The mask and his Atuzan's Anbu cloak are for that reason. What Jiraiya told them. "Is there any danger?" I asked Kaharu. The two Sannin looked at each other and then at the elders with worry. "Right now, no, but we don't know what will happen in the future," they said. Tsunade spoke up. "Tell us everything." He said this as the two moved to sit down in some chairs nearby. When Tsunade told the elders what Orochimaru did, Kyuubi's help, and even Naruto telling them about Sayukanai, she signed and nodded as she spoke. "Is there any way to end it?" he asked Homura. "Hey, but Gaki needs to figure it out by himself, and we think we're running out of time. He's been getting more easily angry lately," he said. Jiraiya. "What will you do if he doesn't end the jutsu?" I asked Kaharu. "I don't even want to think about that now." Tsunade said that they were angry about what they had to do. When Naruto got back to his house, Hinata was making breakfast for him and his friend. He walked in and sat down in the chair until she turned around. "How did it go?" he asked her to look back at him. "Still no luck," Naruto told her as he sat down and put the kite mask on the table. His voice made her think he was mad about this. "When will they figure out a way to change him back? How about after lunch we spar again?" He said yes, hoping that this would make him happy. "Okay, why not? I can't do anything else." Naruto spoke of monotony. She turned around and looked at him. He had his head between his arms while sitting at the table. She wrote down how sad he sounded. When Hinata was done making breakfast, she brought it to the table for the two of them to eat. Naruto didn't eat much, though. They went out to the back after they were done. He looked at the area where his father had made the trap field as they walked back. "I might want to try it now. We've been working on the chakra tape together, which is why I could use it without it getting in the way." Naruto believed. Hinata-chan change of plans. When Naruto told Hinata, "I'm going to test out Atuzan's trap field," she looked at him funny. "Demo Naruto-kun, with the Charka Tate?" What Hinata said. "That is what Kyuubi and I have been working on. We found that it only comes out when I can't see the attack coming, so we fixed it so it will only do so in battle. When you spar or work out, it will say, 'Off now.'" Naruto gave her an explanation. "Okay," Hinata said, seeing that he was set on what he was going to do. "Okay, stay there while I go inside. Don't bother me for any reason, got it? Get Oba-chan an arrow. Sennin if you have to." What Naruto told her. She agreed that she understood, but she was still afraid that he would go into the trap field by himself. As he walked into the field, he saw a number of traps that were easy to spot. These must be for people baka enough to walk in here, without looking at the sign. He said Naruto. Yeah, like you. What Kyuubi told him. I have nothing to worry about. What did Naruto say? I wouldn't say that if I were you. Kyuubi told him not to do what the boy couldn't do. The trap Naruto saw looked a lot like the one they fell into when they tried to catch Sasuke after the auto. Nin took him. It had 3 layers, but he only saw the first one. He stepped on the 3rd wire while he was walking. As he did this, a lot of kunais and shurikens flew at him. Shimada. Naruto told himself. You think. What Kyuubi told him. Naruto jumped into the air and landed on a low branch just in time. Phew, that was a close one. Naruto hit him on the head with his hand. I thought you would have learned the last time that happened to you. He said Kyuubi. Yeah, just let me concentrate. What Naruto told him. That'll be the day. Kyuubi replied. Naruto growled at him, but he kept jumping from tree to tree. It's odd. You'd think these would have a trap on them. It's too thick with plants for any ninja to be able to run through them. He said Naruto. Just keep your eyes and ears open, kid. Naruto agreed with what Kyuubi said. Once they got back to the Hokage Tower, Tsunade was sitting at her desk with Jiraiya by her side. Do you think he's okay? She didn't look at her friend when Tsunade asked. Knowing Gaki, yeah, he's alright. In fact, he's probably out training to cool down, Jiraiya said. Naruto was still flying through the trees in the forest while he waited for the next trap to be set. Something is very strange about this, Kyuubi. I've been jumping through trees for a while and haven't seen anything. He said this as he stopped on a branch of a tree. Naruto stopped when he heard a sizzling sound. When he looked up, he saw that the tree he was standing on had an explosion tag attached to it. Spoke too soon, Kit. He said Kyuubi. Shimada. Naruto yelled. Naruto was thrown through the air when the explosion tag went off. He turned in the air to get back on his feet and landed on a tree close to the one he had been on. He heard the same sound again and jumped off the tree quickly because it blew up right then. Naruto soon jumped quickly from tree to tree as each one blew up after he left it. She got up from the ground when she heard this to see what she could see. Byakugan. As Hinata used Kekkei Genkai, he said. Naruto couldn't see him because he was too far into the trap field. Naruto. Kun, please be alright. Hinata begged. Tsunade and Jiraiya were getting ready to go to lunch when they heard a rumbling sound. It was the many explosion tags going off. Tsunade asked, Did you hear that? Yeah, what do you think it was? Jiraiya asked her a question. I don't know, but I have a feeling it involves Otouto. Tsunade said he wasn't shocked by the noise. Probably. He crossed his arms and said. After finally making it through the grove of trees that were exploding, Naruto arrived in the forest at a field with a lake in the middle of it. Strange for a lake to be in the middle of a trap field. He said Naruto. Not if it's a trap itself. Kyuubi said out loud as he saw the lake's water start to go back down. All of a sudden, it rushed at Naruto and turned into a huge wave. Naruto looked up at the wave that was high above the trees. It made a rushing sound that hurt his ears so much that he put his hands over them. Baka, don't do that, run. Kyuubi yelled at him. Naruto turned around right away and ran back to the forest, hoping to get there before the wave hit him. The 2 Sannin were leaving the office at this point. They heard another sound, but this time they knew what it was. As they ran to the window, they looked at each other with wide eyes. Both of them were looking in the direction of Naruto's house. They saw a huge wave rise above the trees. He didn't. Tsunade was shocked. He did, let's go. As the 2 jumped out of the window and ran as fast as they could, Jiraiya said, I'm scared. I hope he's alright. Tsunade had a worried. If he is, then he'll have to worry about us. Why did he go in there? Jiraiya yelled in anger. Now that Hinata was in the training field, she was amazed by the huge wave that was towering over her and casting a huge shadow over the whole clearing. Naruto. Kun. Hinata said in a worried voice. The wave crashed down on Naruto just as he was about to jump into a tree. He was caught in the middle of his jump and tossed around by the force of the wave. He stopped when a tree hit him in the back. OWWWW. Naruto said as he slowly pulled himself out of the hole he had made in the tree. Baka. He told her, "You're lucky to be alive." Urusei, Kitsune. What Naruto told him. Hinata was shocked when the water came out of the trap field. It was only a stream at that point. It stopped right before it got to her feet and went back into the forest. Jiraiya and Tsunade rushed to Naruto's house and were met there by Naruto's friends and their sensei. Hokage. Sama, was that what I think it was? Toyo asked. Hi, it was Nidame's Udai Tsunami. Tsunade talked. How? I thought that jutsu was only for the Nidame. Sai inquired. Hi, but Arashi was able to mimic it and put it into his trap field he set up in the back of his house. He said Jiraiya. So it came from there? Asuma inquired. The two Sannin nodded and said, guess who is brave enough to go into a trap field made by the Hokage? Sasuke was mad that Naruto would do something like this. Everyone sighed because they knew the answer. Now that Naruto's back hurt no longer, he finally got up. Tucson went a little overboard, don't you think? Kagaya asked Naruto. You already know it's Hokage level. That could have had a reason. Kyuubi replied to him. Naruto rolled his eyes at what he said and went back to walking. Still keeping an eye on the lake in case it decided to do what it had just done again. At last, he reached the other side. He jumped into the trees and began walking back to his house. Naruto jumped down to walk the rest of the way back as the plants on the ground started to die off. Do you think this is such a good idea? Kyuubi asked him if he was still worried about the people attacking them. Everything should be fine now. We're almost back at the beginning. What could go wrong? He said something, but a tree root came up and wrapped around his legs, stopping him. You were saying? The Kyuubi asked. Oh, shut it. As he was being lifted into the air, Naruto said, I'm mad. As the roots grew, they surrounded him and made a hole in the middle. Hokage. Sama, what else did the Yondaime put in this trap field? The Kurenai asked. Itsunade said, I don't really know. Well, I do, and you don't want to know. Jiraiya told her. Why? Ino inquired. Because some of the jutsu in there are very dangerous if they go off. He said Jiraiya. Like what? He asked Tenten. Then a huge shadow fell over them, and when they all looked up, they saw a huge tree growing out of the trap field. Hey, Shimada. He started that one. Jiraiya was shocked to see the huge Sakura tree growing. He had the Shodem ultimate jutsu in there? Yamato asked, his voice filled with fear. Unfortunately, yeah. Jiraiya asked as they ran faster than before. Hinata stood there and looked up at a huge, empty tree that had appeared out of nowhere in the trap field. Naruto. Kun told me not to go in, but I should. I need to get Hokage. Sama. It was Hinata who spoke and turned around. No need to. As Tsunade and the others landed in the open area, a voice said. Hinata, Sama. She told her she was coming to check on her and make sure she was okay. Neji. Ni. San, I'm fine, but Naruto. Kun. Hinata said as she looked back at the tree. He's in there, isn't he? I too asked Jiraiya. He got a nod from Hinata.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.